Good evening and welcome to the Psych Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight and I'm sitting down with Lisa, and she's got a new book out, a new deck out, um, and like some really fascinating books that I think I might have to go grab later
Yay!
after the show, um, just for
Woo!
the cover art. Um, like I was pulling it up and I'm like, hello.
Yeah, paranormal books have sexy covers.
Very much so, very much so. Um, so this is your first nonfiction book,
Correct.
but you've been in tarot for about 20, we'll go 20 years. We'll just stick to
Yeah,
that
thank
20
you.
level.
That's
Um,
enough.
I have a feeling it's about the same time I entered when there was two decks. You can get them at Spencer's in the back if you were lucky, and that year, or go to New York to some big store. How was your experience?
Yeah, something similar to that. So when I was in high school, got excited about tarot, and everyone said you have to go get the Rider-Waite deck because that is the beginner deck. And I can't remember if I got mine at Spencer's. I may have been in early Amazon when they only had books. I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm.
I ordered mine. But anyway, I got the Rider-Waite deck and quickly realized that I did not connect with any of that imagery. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was a bunch of angry men looking at me on those cards. And I just thought, what? And I'm trying to memorize and I could not get it. So for the longest time, I just collected tarot decks because I liked
Mm-hmm.
the art and I liked the idea of using tarot. But it wasn't for a few years before I actually connected with a deck and I started to realize, hey, there's cycles and hey, and
Mm-hmm.
pretty soon I could read from any deck. But for me, Rider-Waite did not, I thought I was broken, but it just wasn't the deck for me.
I'm surprised that and the traditional Rider-Waite deck is very complicated,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm surprised they didn't try to push you towards Crowley's deck, the Thoth
Oh.
deck.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had friends who were into that, and I did have a Thoth deck, but that one I found even more confusing and
Mm-hmm.
not conducive to me. I feel like when you're a reader, you have to really be able to connect with your decks.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you spend your time when you should be connected to your intuition, getting that message. You're fumbling through trying to remember, oh God, what did that card mean? And what spot was that in? And
Mm-hmm.
and you lose your thread. And I found that the Thoth deck was just as daunting for me.
It is a lot of psychology, and you have to understand. For me, I had to go and take some psychology classes to get through that deck.
Yes, it's very complex.
Yeah,
I
you
also
know
tried Lenormand or Lenormand. I don't know how you say
the
it, but yeah, is that how
Lemon.
you say
Yeah,
it? Lemond? I'm not
yeah.
sure. But I tried that too, and that had fewer cards, but
Mm-hmm.
it really mattered, if this is the past and which one modifies
Mm-hmm.
the other one. And it kind of felt like sentence structure, and so I worked with those for a long time, but those didn't really still wasn't feeling like I was getting messages. I was feeling like the
Mm-hmm.
book was telling me messages and
Right.
totally different. And
Yeah.
so that one didn't work out for me either.
It did. I can understand that. Lenormand is a very complicated deck. It's totally simplistic, and you've got to understand like horse plus ring times coffin divided by
Exactly. Yeah, divided
running.
by rat and broom. And I was
Uh
like,
huh.
oh my gosh, what?
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I don't know. It was probably about the '90s. Tarot finally exploded, and we got decks like, Gilded Tarot or the Golden
Mhm.
Dawn Tarot, and this tarot, that tarot. I'm an evil teacher. All my classes say, bring your deck. You must provide
Yes.
your deck.
Yes.
Aeson, I forgot my deck. Here's your baseball tarot.
Yes. And gummy bear tarot.
Uh
I
huh.
I teach tarot for writers, and I always tell them to bring a deck. And every time I end up buying more decks, I'm like, dang it. But one of the cutest ones somebody brought, let me see if I can grab it, was the cute ghost tarot.
That's adorable.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It is so cute. So cute. The devil, the little ghost has like bubble gum and all kinds of stuff stuck on his little sheet. It's really cute. So anyway, so every time I teach the class, then I end up with another deck.
happens. The number of times I've pulled into a parking lot and went, there is no tarot in this car, and I've got to go teach class. Well, let's go see what they've got. What collector item do I have today? I don't know. Tarot for me has always been a pathway. Like it gives me the radio signal. I can do it because I had to do it to get my mastery in tarot. You have to do a classical tarot reading where you have to break down the position, the card, reverse, all that. This is not that system. We are not debating the color of a rose.
No.
Tell them about your system.
So when I teach practical tarot method, we talk about colors, also some symbols, especially animals, different animals that are pretty universal through all the decks. That's why I always have people all bring their decks, because we actually go through and look at each card and go, hey, here's a bird, here's a bird, here's a bird. You know, what does this mean? Right. And so I talk about that in the book, as well as there's a lot of exercises in there to start trusting your intuition. And I have journal tips on every card, so that if you are someone who feels like you need to go through each and every card, you can journal about each card to get a closer, relationship with it, so that you're more familiar with it for you. Because I'm a big believer that if you have a connection to a card that's not the traditional meaning, your guides and angels are going to have you draw that card to give you that message, not what's in the book. So like if you associate the Queen of Cups with your grandmother for whatever reason, when you pull that card, you are getting a message from your grandmother if she pops in your head. And learning to trust that, for me, was probably the hardest part when I started down my path, was because I wanted, rainbows or a smell of oranges. I wanted a sign that this is this is the message, but there isn't a recipe, and you just have to trust that first inkling. For me, tarot is this tool, and when you flip it over, that very first message you get is the message. And so when we made the deck, I tried to put on every single card has lots of different symbols on it that you can try and cling to, or color, or whatever, anything to make your intuition ping, so that when you flip over that card, you are getting a message. It doesn't have to be what's in the book, right?
Right.
And for me, that is a big thing. And then we talk about cards bridging and how they talk to each other, that you get this first card, and then maybe the first card is maybe the first card is the Wheel of Fortune, and you're gonna choose a path, and then the next card is Justice, and you're like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna choose a path that's going to be for my highest good and balanced and good for me. And then the third one is the Devil, and then you're like, oh, and I'm gonna have to give up something that no longer serves me so that I can find my balance.
See, so and that's where I get a little like, side-eyeing the old methods, and then I agree with you. It's like the Devil. That's pure fucking sex appeal. Right. Whatever you're looking at, that is, and I think is it the Gilded that has him? It's this one or the Black Tarot. And honey, he looks like he stepped off of a porn mag, and just cut to right. And it's like, for me, the Three of Cups reverse has nothing to do with relationships. It's about pulling your shit together. And that comes from practice and going,
Exactly.
That don't fit,
Exactly. Well,
Yeah,
and seeing what it means for you,
right.
because you're going to get the card that you need. And
Mm-hmm.
so if for you, like I have one client who we do manifesting work, and at the end I always pull cards. And
Mm-hmm.
she is one of those people who is just like she's a very good multitasker, and it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
chaotic. So
Right.
when we see this chaos, it has become it's almost funny how often the tower comes up for her, and she
Mm-hmm.
now calls it her card. She's like, oh hey universe, anytime the tower comes up, and it no
Mm-hmm.
longer means what the traditional card means.
Right.
It's obviously a little wink to her, maybe mellow out a little bit.
Right.
Chaos.
Maybe rip
You know,
something up. You
right.
know.
Maybe slow down a little.
Uh-huh.
But so for her, because this card comes up so often and she associates it with her work habits, for her
Mm-hmm.
that's the meaning of that card, and it's
Right.
totally valid. But when I read the tower for someone else, it's not going to mean that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to be familiar enough with your cards that you can
Mm-hmm.
trust that first message that you get, because like you
Right.
said, too, it's depending on the deck. I have some decks where different cards pull out different messages from
Mm-hmm.
me. I mean,
Right.
I know what the card traditionally would mean, but in some
Right.
decks it just gives you, like, some decks they even change the names. Death is transformation, and whatever.
Oh, yeah. Or
So
the
it
ad
really
card.
depends. Or they add a
Uh,
card. I don't like when they
or
add a card.
I don't like when they add cards either. There is a
No.
deck I loved called the Cat Tarot. It's not the one that's
Oh,
mass
cute.
marketed now. It
Oh,
was
okay.
it was a very intricate tarot, and I had to sit and study it because she said, "Oh, well, this is cute. We have two systems." No, I'm going to go and pull from the Welsh system, and it had 82 cards.
Oh.
Every card had a balancer, like High
Oh.
Priestess, High Priest,
Oh.
Emperor,
Oh.
Magician, Witch. I'm like, oh god, the
No.
math on that was. But you know what? That deck taught me how to speed read like a demon and to step out and go, you know what, whatever.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Part of it, if you're reading for yourself, it's not as big a deal, but when you decide, I'm going to be brave
Hmm.
and I want to read for someone else, you really have to be willing
Hmm.
to step out of the wheelhouse of what the guidebook is going to tell you.
Right.
You have to trust your gut, because when someone sits in that chair across from you, their
Hmm.
energy is right there, their spirit guides and angels right there,
Hmm.
and whatever message you're getting is the message they need. Even though sometimes I can remember one time I had this man come in for a reading, and
Hmm.
I didn't get men very often, but I was at the metaphysical shop. This was before Panini. In the
Hmm.
metaphysical shop, this man comes in and he says, I don't know if I believe in this, but I feel like I need some input, because he was doing job interviews. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay. And I
Hmm.
shuffled and I spread the cards out. And then I said, why don't you draw? And
Hmm.
that man, he goes, how many cards? I said, how about 5? And he goes to one end of the deck and picks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the first 5. And I thought,
Uh-huh.
oh, here we go.
Uh-huh.
You didn't feel any energy. This is going to be horrible. Every single card was pentacles. It was all related to his work. I was like, what? The hair on the back of my neck standing up, because I had shuffled. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
what are the chances? But we got every card he needed, and he walked out a believer. So
Hmm.
the lesson I took from that is just trust they're going to get the message they need. And your
Hmm.
job is just to spit it out, what pops in your head, whether or not that is the traditional meaning of the card. There was a reason they pulled it. And
Right.
your job is just to let that out, even if it feels like, oh my gosh, this
Uh-huh.
is going to be awful.
Learned that there's a Universalist church, spiritualist church, and medium church in DC.
Mm-hmm.
The pastor there, his name is Michael. He done a weekend intensive tarot course.
Mm-hmm.
That's beginning of the class, he takes an open and brings in a deck of saran wrapped cards, brand new deck. Does the full lecture, and he's just waving this deck around, and we're like, okay, you're going to open it up and show us the cards. We know how this goes because
Right.
this is not a beginner's class. And then he has the person, one of the girl that was in the front row. He has her, can you open this up for me? And she opens it up, takes the plastic off, and hands the deck back to him. And says, all right, let's do a reading on you. The cards were not in order.
Wow.
They had already moved all throughout. It was a wonderful reading. This is also the man, something else I witnessed in that church and I've never witnessed again. He has a box full of crayons, pencils, whatever, and index cards. Sets it on the pulpit, goes through the whole message service, the whole service, everything again, pulls it open, and there's like pictures and people's names written on the back of them.
What?
Yeah. Yes,
wow.
honey. You have to go experience that.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
It is. And I'm like, okay, how did you do that? Like, did you he's like, nope, bought it this morning.
What? They draw themselves?
The cards draw themselves. Like beautiful pictures, artwork, landscapes. Gorgeous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
With like your grandmother's name. Mine had my grandmother's name written on the back of the picture because he's a medium. He's a physical medium.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. I had one time there are a pair, I wish I could remember their names. It's a husband and wife team, and they're out of LA in California. And they do mediumship readings where he gets the message, but she can see. So she doesn't hear them. He hears them, but she sees. And so while he's talking and giving people messages, she is drawing these pictures of spirits who are in the room. And then she holds them up so that people can tell. And I was just manning the store because my husband's uncle had passed away and he was on his way to the funeral. Nobody else knew that but me. But anyway, I'm just sitting in the back, I wasn't part of it. I was just holding down the store. And she holds up this picture and I look at it. It's pencil drawing. And I look at it. And I mean, she has the glasses. She has everything. And I'm like, that's my husband's dead grandfather. And everyone in the audience looks back there. And she said, he said that he just wants his family to know that his son is with him and he's safe. And that was the man that my husband was on the way to the funeral. I'm like, what? It was wild. I took a picture of it and sent it to him when he got off the plane. He's like, they drew my grandpa Kermit? Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, things like that are so amazing. I just love it. You know, tarot, you can get mediumship readings from tarot, and people are always surprised when I mention that. But if you want a message from your brother and he has crossed over, you can ask them to speak to you through the cards, and you will draw. I've done readings like that for people where you pull it out and they flip it over and they start to cry. It has nothing to do with the traditional meaning of the card, but the kids on the card are playing some game that they used to play with their brother. I'm like, whoa, really? You know, so it can be beautiful.
It can be. So you have your deck out that goes with this. How hard was the artwork part of it for you? Did you do it? Did you find an artist?
Yes, it was a quest. It really was a quest. So I teach tarot for writers, and I finished a course of it. And that particular class was big, and they did great. It was really cool. And at the end, they said, you know, you should have a book and a deck. And I thought, well, that's impossible because A, I write fiction, and B, I'm not an artist. I can't even draw stick people. But they mentioned it, and the idea was percolating. And I talked to my agent, and she sent me some nonfiction book proposals to practice and figure out the framework because I'd never done one. And I was writing my indie books, and I have a cover artist for those. So I ordered a cover and asked her, you know, if I was going to do like on Kickstarter a tarot deck, would you be willing to make the cards for me? And she said, well, it's a little too far out of my wheelhouse, but I know an illustrator. And she introduced me to Holly Carton, who did all of the artwork. And oh my gosh, so gorgeous.
Fabulous.
And so it took 3 times longer than we thought it would to make 78 individual pieces of art. But it came out so beautiful that then I was like, well, shoot, when we ship these Kickstarters, it'll be over. So I went back to publishers who I had pitched just the book to with the proposal. And 2 of them came back who were very interested in the book and the deck. And in the end, I went with Beyond Words. And I'm very happy with everything they did. Is gorgeous. But yeah, it was an
They've done nice printing work in the set, because the pictures are in the book. The pictures are gorgeous. The deck, I didn't get the deck yet, but I'm getting it personally for my collection. But the book itself is quality. Like, I tear books up. And this one doesn't even look like I played in it.
Yeah, and I love that at the back of the book, they put the entire deck in full color in the back of the book. And it's such a gorgeous book. It came out so great. But making the deck was really fun because Holly doesn't know anything about tarot. So we would go through and I would give her, the traditional meaning of the card, but the symbols I like to see on it. And our hope was to be inclusive and diverse. And so she would come back with 3 pencil sketches of different ideas, and I would pick it, and then we'd start coloring it. And anyway, it took forever, but it was so worth it. It came out great.
But that's so close to how the traditional decks were made before we hit the Spencers or the, almond books or whatever. Was no, you had to sit down and draw your deck.
Right. Yeah.
And before the rights got into it, there were so many cards that they were like, there is no wagon wheel in the deck. Why is there a wagon wheel in your deck? And then like cards have been added and changed, and because it's a modern game of telephone, but it was a lot of work for the prospective pupil to become the prospective reader.
Right.
How do you think we do that in today's time? Because I'm sorry, I start handing my students crayons and pencils, and they're going to be looking at me like, you have lost your mind.
Yeah, I can't draw.
You're right.
But I think that Kickstarter is a really neat way. There's so many cool tarot decks that get made on Kickstarter. However, now I'm starting to see more and more of them that are AI, and I don't feel good about that. But I do understand it was really expensive to have an artist do all that. I couldn't have done it if the Kickstarter hadn't have funded to pay her. So I get it. I get it. But
here's something with AI. It's a lovely thing to have as a technical editor. Right. It's a lovely thing to have as a layout designer. You got to put your own passion in there, your own flavor, your own blood, sweat, and tears.
Exactly.
Now granted, I'm going to be point blank. My AI does lovely things for me. It takes my articles and makes them speak like English, and puts the commas and the periods where they belong, and all that, and designs posts to make things pop like they're supposed to. I think that it's a great assistant. I don't think it should be the tool that's doing everything.
Exactly. And I feel like it shouldn't be the artist. You look at AI images and you can tell that it's AI. And I feel like for tarot, especially, since we're trying to tap into our intuition and we're trying to get messages, I don't think a computer can give you what you need to do that. I don't think a computer
can understand the complexities of literally like a tone or shade difference changes the feeling of that card completely.
Yes.
Like And that's why, like, some decks
the
are.
light filtering
Mhm.
through a cloud and hitting the knight's sword, you know,
Mhm.
it just, it doesn't, AI doesn't understand, and
Right.
and it shouldn't. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
robot, so
Right.
you know, but yeah, so I feel
Right.
like it needs to be humans. But I do like on Kickstarter that there's so many people creating and all that.
Mhm.
As far as reading goes, um, I guess it really depends. I feel like if I hadn't have taken tarot classes, I would
Mhm.
not be the reader that I am now. I mean,
Mhm.
you can learn a lot from a book, and you can learn a lot from, you know, if you're a memorizer and you memorize the guidebook, and you can learn spreads and all that. But
Mhm.
it helps to have someone there showing you, you know,
How to
how
connect.
cards talk to each other, you
Right.
know, and how they modify each other. And
Mhm.
some people read reversals. I do not. You
Mhm.
know, and you need to have somebody who can give you both sides of everything so that
Mhm.
you can figure out what resonates with you. And I think
Mhm.
that there are a lot of people like, you know, TikTok and things like that that I see fly by, and I think,
Mhm.
huh, okay.
Yeah.
And you know, I just feel like if you're going to give people messages, there's a kind of a responsibility there, and it's
Mhm.
helpful if you have a background so that you feel confident delivering that
Mhm.
message, because you want your messages to help someone, not hurt
Right.
them, you know.
Right. And I totally agree. That's why I think. And yeah, I know. I first of all, I don't like big government. I think this should be a SAG organization. But someone to say, yes, this person has put the work in.
Hmm.
Like an
Yeah, just
organization that says, yeah, you've studied this. You've got
right.
the competency skills. You've got the communication skills down. You've got the how to care for yourself as a reader, because I don't care what you're doing. You sit down and start doing 22 readings in a day, no self care, no spiritual practice. You will be in the hospital in a month.
Right. Yeah. You need to have shielding, and you need to remember to clear all your chakras afterwards so you don't
Mm-hmm.
have anyone cut cords, so you don't have
Uh-huh.
anyone else's energy following you
Right.
home. Yeah. Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
lot of other things that go into it too,
Right.
besides just the actual reading of cards. You're right.
Exactly. And all that comes from classes, like your
Hmm.
author's class. That sounds freaking fascinating, taking tarot to the fantasy level.
Yes. Yes. We
And how
talk
to create
character development and how you can
that.
plot a
Uh-huh.
whole book with your cards. And yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. And then practicum and that type of thing. And while, yeah, this book is thin, guys, but this one will take you at least to like stage 2, where you're getting to know your 78 friends, your
Right.
82 friends.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the deck. You can have 78 index cards with the name of the cards on them.
Yep.
You can read that deck.
Hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
you can. And the whole idea of having it be practical tarot, the reason I call my classes
Hmm.
that is because tarot can be a practical
Right.
tool that you use for I use it in my
Yeah.
writing every time I sit down to write.
Hmm.
I teach people to use it anytime that they are, if you're an artist,
Hmm.
visual artist, tarot can be such a gift, because when
Hmm.
you are stuck, or you can't figure out what is wrong with this, why doesn't it pop, you can
Hmm.
ask that question with that intention, spread out your tarot cards, pull it out and go, oh my gosh, it's not balanced, you're right,
Hmm.
you know, and you got the temperance card, and you're like, okay, look, the color balance is off, thank you.
Hmm.
um, because tarot can get your ego out of the way, and you can
Hmm.
get a clear channel to your superconscious, which knows what you're trying to get done.
Hmm.
You can use tarot to decide what to watch on TV, if that is your intention when you pull the card, and you'll go, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, it's rom-com night, or oh my gosh, it's the tower, let's watch some blow up destruction movie. You know,
Hmm.
you can use it for everything. And the more you use it, the better your connection is with your deck. So that's why I called it practical tarot, because so often movies and books, it's a great plot device, you know. Oh, the death card, now a piano is going to fall on them. You know, so
something plane to crash.
Yeah. But in reality, they're just a tool for you to use to get practical information from your intuition and, you know, and your superconscious. And you don't have to ever be a reader for other people for you to use your tarot deck all the time. So, So
and
anyway,
So what's your trick for making them open, turning the brain off and opening their mouth?
Exactly. Yeah. Get your ego that worries about, will other people like this, or will this be marketable, or, you know, it pulls all of that out. You pull the card and you go, oh my gosh. You know, because for a split second you were out of the equation and the universe could give you a clear message. And there are lots of metaphysical tools out there. You don't have to use tarot, but for me, tarot is so powerful because it's visual and you can see it. Pendulums work great too, because you can see them also. But you know, when you're just starting out, being able to get validation that your gut feeling is right is huge. Use your tarot deck.
Exactly. And not only that, it keeps your client busy while you're getting the energy. A pendulum, a crystal ball. This is the reason I think like pendulums, crystal balls, tea readings. Well, tea readings were shut down by a lot of the health departments, but all these things, people will gravitate to tarot because they're sitting there and they've got something to play with or something to look at while you're going, okay. So you need to quit your job and move.
Well, and the other cool thing too is now that everybody has, I mean, when I started, nobody had a camera on their phone, but you know, but now that you've got a camera on your phone, when I finish a reading, I tell them, take a picture of these so that you have them to refer to, because that's another great thing. You're not going to have a pendulum to refer to, and you're not going to have, you know, what that crystal, you know, felt like or whatever, but you can have a picture of the tarot cards and go, oh yeah, fool, I was going to take a leap of faith. I'm going to say yes this month, you know? So,
you know, and I think that's amazing. I love when people, I used to do and this shows my age, I had cassettes to tape the reading. I love when they record the reading because it saves me time, because 3 months later they'll pick up the phone, book an appointment. So do you remember at the Anchorage when you told me such and such? And I'll be point blank honest. No, I don't.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah. You know, and I had a male client at an event just like yours. Alexa, stop.
She's trying to help you. There's the robots.
Well, she's trying to remind me to check the oven, and that can wait because it's only at 200 degrees. And he came in. His wife wanted him to get a reading. This is normally I don't want to read you. You don't want to read me, but fine. We're sitting here.
Right.
I'm going to blow your fucking socks off. You know, if I have to do this against your energy, we're going nuclear, and I blew it. Yeah, and he's just like, yeah, whatever. You know, shuffle the cards.
Right.
Okay. And he does 5. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Your company's failing. You need to go and buy 3 other companies and make $1 million. And he came back to see me 2 years later. Do you remember me? And I go,
no.
Don't remember your reading, but I remember your energy. How you doing? And he says, I sold the construction business. I bought 3 home health care companies, and I'm rocking $1 million.
Wow, that's so cool.
And now tell me what to do next. Love the guy to death. He's warm. He's sweet. He's funny. But I had to crack that shell. Do you get that with authors too? Because I know you do with the fictional. Like, no, you're not writing another boring romance novel this month.
Actually, I've only had a couple of writers who wanted a reading about writing. And both times it was actually, there's one right now. I can't tell you her name because the
Of course
deal is
not.
still all happening. But we did a reading, I want to say, gosh, 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a book that was like book of her heart, and she didn't know if she should write it because it was out of her genre. And
Mm-hmm.
so we pulled cards, and it was the universe was screaming, write that book.
Right.
And she was like, huh, okay. But she did not take action on
Right.
it. It was
Right.
she wasn't ready for it, but boy, that was the book the universe wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, now years later, she finally wrote that book. And
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, it is just it has been so exciting to watch. But it hasn't even come out in the US yet, and she has sold foreign rights to all these other countries, and
Mm-hmm.
huge audiobook deal and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she was texting me, and I was like, is this the book that we talked about years ago? And she said
Mm-hmm.
yes. so,
Oh, lovely.
so anyway, sometimes the messages we give people, they're just not quite ready for yet,
Mm-hmm.
but the universe is very ready. So once they
Right.
come around to it, things
Mm-hmm.
can just fall into place. And I love seeing that when they come back. And I had one lady come back, and it was probably 2 months later. And during her
Mm-hmm.
reading, it was something about her job, and we pulled tarot cards first. And sometimes if we want to go like a little deeper into
Mm-hmm.
one aspect of the reading, I'll pull some oracle cards.
Right.
And one of the cards had to do with her job. I can't remember what it was, but we pulled some oracle cards and got in the deck had a disruptor card, disruption.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I know you're not happy at that job, and I feel like things are gonna,
Mm-hmm.
come unraveled. So you might want to think about, looking elsewhere. And she was like, "But I really like this job. But okay, I'll think about it." And she came
Mm-hmm.
back about 6 weeks later, and she said, "I just wanted you to know that sure enough, I got laid off, and I wasn't even surprised because I
Mm-hmm.
remembered that card." And she said, and I had already, just for funsies, had been sending out resumes, even though she didn't really want to leave that job. And she said, and I
Right.
already have 2 interviews, and they're both for more money than I was making. So I'm like, woohoo. Um, so
Like, did you need the
yeah,
brick house to fall on you? Apparently, is what I
right.
normally tell my clients. You know, it's like they'll come for a reading, they expect a certain answer. If they don't get that answer, like, I'm going through a separation and I'm going, when is my divorce? And I'm like, there is no divorce. What do you mean? There's no divorce. You can wait, you can sit here and argue with each other all you want, but neither one of you has got the balls to divorce each other. 3 months later, so he moved back in, and we're currently having an argument over the couch. Buy a new one and stop arguing. Like, why are you picking fights for attention?
Yeah, my least favorite reading is when they want to know when he's coming back. And then as I'm doing the reading, you hear
Mm-hmm.
that they've been blocked on all social media. He's
Mm-hmm.
expecting a baby with someone else. Well,
Mm-hmm.
he's my twin flame, and when's he coming back? And I'm like, why do you want him back? Why? And then the cards are screaming, no. and you
Exactly.
know,
And it's like,
so
what are you doing to yourself? Don't tell. Well, these 27 other readers said that, I don't care. I do not
exactly,
care.
exactly. Yeah.
That's my worst reading. Well, Julie over at such and such said this and this and this, and
Right.
you're going against her. I don't care what Julie said.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people who will shop to try and get the answer that they want,
Right.
or people who find readers who will tell them what they want, and then what they want doesn't work out. So then they come
Yeah.
to you, and you're like, well, that's not what's happening. And they're going,
Yeah.
what? But that's what I want. Like, well,
Well, then you need to get on that manifestation stick, honey, and get moving.
yes. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Or, well, how do I get rid of him? Move to Mexico. Take yourself out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, boundaries.
Yeah. You know, especially when the universe is like pushing you to make a direction and you're fighting tooth and nail, and they're
Right.
like, how do I stop this? Like, or how do I make sure this happens? Well, how do you know this is going to happen? Well, it's either this or you're going to wake up tomorrow and decide that you're sick of this and you're going to go X-packing to like Jamaica. And they're like, no, that's not what I'm ever going to do. I said, okay, then it'll happen.
Yeah, and sometimes people resist and then they keep drawing that same card over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, the universe will stop giving you that card
Right.
when you take action. But until then, it's going to be real loud and you're going to keep getting that card over and over. I have a manifesting mastermind group that meets on Zoom weekly. And one time I had this client, and I'm in Florida and she was in California, and it's usually around 5 people, and we're all visualizing, and at the end I pull tarot cards for everyone. And I had pulled her card and she got the 3 of Wands. And it was like, you got to stop with the perfectionism and just do the thing. She knew what she wanted to do, but she wasn't starting. And I'm like, the 3, you are ready to go. Go. You already made your choices. You have your plan. Go. That was not what she wanted to hear. She's like, well, I don't think it's completely done. Anyway, so then she's done. She's on mute. I'm to the next person. And when I got through the 5, she unmutes and says, can I tell you something? I said, what? And she goes, I just shuffled my own deck here in San Diego, and look what I got. And it was the 3 of Wands across the country. I'm like, so maybe you should just take action on this plan. What do you think? She was like, I just can't believe I got the 3 of Wands too. But you always get the card you need. And if you're resisting it, the universe don't keep giving you that card,
Exactly. So what's your least favorite card?
Oh, that is a great question. My least favorite card. Probably my least favorite. Well, I mean, everyone's least favorite is usually the Tower, because none of us we all want our lives to be different, but we don't want anything to change. So the Tower is kind of everyone's go-to. But for me, a lot of times when I get the Temperance card, I'm like, dang it, I am not a very patient person. And so when I get the Temperance card, it's like the universe telling me, mellow out, get out of the way, balance, sleep, go sleep. And I'm like, no, I have to push. I have to, so for me, when I get the Temperance card, it's like, dang it, whatever I want isn't going to happen right now. I need to just balance and, go for a walk and all this stuff. It's hard for me. So for me, probably out of the whole deck, that is hard for me. I also am not a big fan of the 5 of Swords. I have anxiety issues, and when I'm having them, I can't stop drawing the 5 of Swords. I'm like, shut up. I know.
Yes, that is me in the 10 of Wands.
Over my shoulder. I know.
Yeah, for me, it's the 10 of Wands. Like, I should just have like that tattooed somewhere, because every time it's like, yes, I know I've took on more than I need to.
I know I've spread too thin. Well aware. Yeah, sometimes I feel like you need to be able to have a button to the universe to go, I already know these things, so tell me something else.
Well, see, that's why I don't do general readings. It's because, like, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. We're being paid by the minute, or your session is by the minute.
Right.
What do you want to know?
Instead of, sometimes I rarely, unless it's like some psychic fair and I can't get out of it, I won't do 15-minute readings, because in my experience, people, they sort of need to know you a little bit before they really get to the real question. And so at 13 and a half minutes, they go, okay, but is my son going to move back in my house, or is he going to stay with his wife? I'm like, whoa, what? We've been talking about your work, or is he cheating? I'm like, well, we have 90 seconds left and you want me to pull some cards to see if he's cheating. So I always do 30-minute readings or more because I feel like you don't really get their real question until they're comfortable with you. So in my experience, if you want to get to the real problem, you have to let them warm up a little bit first.
See, and I'm the opposite because I'll do like 5-minute reading. And it's like, all right, I'm done. What do you want? Of course, I also have a class called Shotgun Tarot where I teach people to read tarot in 20 minutes or less.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So you like it being all fast like that. I see you.
Yeah. I had a lot of my career is network reading. Per minute reading.
Right.
And I've always been fast, hyper. Actually, I had a boss tell me to go get my tongue ring adjusted because I talk too fast. I'm like, what? Fine, you're just giving me an excuse for more jewelry. But because they, networks are like, try to get 15 minutes. And so when I started doing appointments and live readings, and they're like, you need to do a 30-minute reading. I'm like, what the hell am I going to talk to him for 30 minutes about?
See, yeah, I was the opposite. So I didn't do the network readings. So for me, it was so I understand. Yeah, that would be harder after you're used to doing it so fast. Then they tell you 30 minutes. That's like, I'm going to have to pull 50 cards.
I've gone through 2 decks before.
Oh my God.
But that client needed every card in the deck because literally it was a 30-minute reading, and I think the next day they should have booked their appearance on Jerry Springer. And then gone to write a country album because everything was going wrong, and they had gone to every psychic, medium, witch doctor, everything together.
And usually when you have someone who has done that, it's because they are refusing. They want somebody else to tell them the answer, and you still have to live your life. I mean, it's not, I feel like it's not a tarot reader's job to tell you exactly what to do. That's not our job. Our job is to give you the energy and the insight and the inspiration. And then it's your job to go make decisions and do things and take action. And there's a lot of people who will go get many, many readings because they want somebody to tell them, if you go out on Tuesday, see the man in the green shirt, that is your soulmate. And the reality is, I mean, geez, that's really limiting your options if that's what and so you still have to live your life. I don't feel like tarot cards tell the future. They like facilitate it. Tarot cards can give you the energy of maybe, which way you should think about going, but you still are your free will is the magic. You have to do something about it. And I feel like people who, are going to all these different places to fix me. No, you fix yourself.
Well, they had put off the tower moment for like a decade.
Right.
And it's just like, okay, let's dig in here. You need to get a divorce. You hate your career. You hate where you live. And your family's oppressive. How are we going to clean this mess up?
Right.
Not to mention all the extra bullshit you've now added into your pile of manure.
Yeah. Avoidance really does. Eventually you run out of compartments to compartmentalize. And then stuff starts getting real fast.
Very quick. All right, darling. So what are you doing next?
Well, I have 2 fiction books that I'm finishing up now. I'm going to be at the StarCon in West Palm Beach this weekend, signing
Nice.
books and doing readings. And I know they
Mhm.
have virtual con for that one too. So if anybody is excited, they have
Nice.
some amazing tarot speakers there. And it will all be on the internet as well, live streamed. And I think if you sign up as a virtual person, you have access to the workshops later. I believe so, but it's all on the website. And
Do we
then,
have that one real fast?
yeah, it's STAAR con. Let me see if I can find the. Oh, I can't.
Got it.
Stream, but you found it. Okay. Yeah. This is the 5th year, I think, of it. But anyway, it's going to be great fun. And then I also have a couple ideas for a couple more decks that are oracle decks that are percolating. So hopefully, I would love to make practical manifesting and practical meditation decks, because I am not a great meditator, but if I have a focus, it really helps. And so I feel like if they're just decks I would love to have. So basically,
if you do the meditation deck, please address the fucking music.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What I'm thinking of for the meditation deck is like, because for me, what I wish I had, I have so many oracle decks, but I wish I had one that was a meditation deck where it's all focal points for your meditating. So like meditate on what you want to learn next. Meditate on places you want to visit. Meditate on, just because sometimes for me, I'm not a great meditator. I can't do the empty head thing, but if I have something to focus on, I can get such clear messages and clear intentions, and it's beautiful. And so I would love to have that. So kind of like writing prompts, but for your meditating. And so anyway, I think that would be amazing. But we could talk about music in there as well.
You should, because so many people can't do meditation because they think they have to do meditational music. And they fall asleep. Me included. Like, I tried meditation, was taught meditation, blah, 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 silent whatever, never worked. Flip on some Black Sabbath, War Pigs, and go to Alpha in like 3 seconds.
My husband used to do group meditations and they were so fantastic because he would get music from live concerts of dead artists. And so just the beginning of the concert, he would give us a little guided thing that you're going into your private box in Madison Square Garden. And then the concert would start. And it was so amazing, the messages and the stuff you would get, and you would see other dead artists there. It was amazing. You're like, oh my God, it's very Sinatra. Cool. It was so fantastic. So everybody used to love the rock and roll concert meditations, and most people are like,
you get so much out of it.
But
and it's because our brainwaves have changed. Our intention has changed, our brainwaves have changed, our minds move faster than they used to.
Yeah. And I think, again, having a focal point gives you a starting point so that you aren't just falling asleep. You're seeing yourself in Madison Square Garden, and by visualizing like that, you're opening up that crown chakra and you're getting things going. And as John Lennon's singing, you're looking around and you're like, oh my God, there's Elvis. What? And it just is, you get amazing connections and messages, and and it's rock music.
Right. Or whatever, and it keeps the vibration going on. So I look forward to your decks. Please come back. Would love to you to hang out with me some more. You also do some streaming yourself, so go ahead and give them your channel and your publishing schedule.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me. I always do a free weekly tarot reading on YouTube, and I'm LDY Disney on YouTube, or you can just look up Lisa Kessler Tarot. I'll pop up. And I also do some manifesting challenges on YouTube as well. There's one from December, right before the new year, is up now. I also have fiction books that come out off, and he has the author Lisa Kessler on there. You can always find out and sign up for my newsletter there. And for manifesting, metaphysicalmanifesting.com, we do all kinds of challenges, and I have a mastermind group and a community. And if you are trying to manifest amazing things for 2025, woo, we are too. And we would love to support you. So
awesome,
anyway,
girl.
We'd love to see you there.
I will check some of that out myself.
Yay!
Because we're always playing with stuff and saying, I don't know, I quit working 20 years, and I just play now.
Yay! You know what? Yeah. It's not work if you enjoy it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, darling. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you for having me. See you later. Thanks again. This was fun.
Bye, darling.
Bye-bye.
Love diving into metaphysical topics, psychic insights, and lively discussions? Now you can help keep the conversation going. By becoming a Patreon supporter of The Psychic Coffee Shop, you'll gain access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and special perks just for our patrons. Join our community and ensure that your favorite psychic show continues to thrive. Your support helps us bring more enlightening episodes, special guests, and deep dives into the world of the unseen. Become a patron today and enjoy a cup of wisdom with us every week. Click the link to join the baristas and unlock exclusive content. Thank you for your support.
Unlock your full potential with Aeson Knight's life coaching. Are you ready to take control of your life and manifest the future you deserve? Aeson Knight, a seasoned life coach and master psychic, is here to guide you on a transformative journey. Whether you're navigating personal challenges, career transitions, or seeking spiritual growth, Aeson's life coaching services offer tailored guidance to help you achieve your goals. With Aeson by your side, you'll discover the tools to overcome obstacles, embrace your true self, and create a life filled with purpose and fulfillment. His unique blend of spiritual insight and practical coaching empowers you to turn your dreams into reality. Ready to make a change? Book your session today and start your journey to a more empowered, balanced, and joyful life with Aeson Knight. Click the link to schedule your first session and step into your power.
Are you ready for an electrifying podcast experience that keeps you coming back for more? Join Aeson Knight every week as he takes you on a journey through captivating shows, each exploring unique and fascinating topics. And here's the best part. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode where you can get your burning questions answered live on air, absolutely free. Whether it's relationship advice, career guidance, or mystical insights, Aeson's podcasts have got you covered. When you subscribe, you become part of a vibrant community, engaging directly with Aeson as he shares his wisdom and leaves you feeling empowered and enlightened. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation. What you'll get by subscribing: Monday 5 p.m. Metaphysics. Today, soulful conversations with Aeson Knight and Firefly, exploring the essence of metaphysics in today's world. Tuesday 8 p.m. The Psychic Coffee Shop. Dive into current events with a psychic twist, featuring special guests and thought-provoking discussions. Friday 9 p.m. The Mountain Bears Podcast. Lively discussions from a gayish, techie-ish, bearish perspective with Aeson and Joe. Sunday 5 p.m. Psychic That Plans. Get a weekly tarot energy overview and time management tips from Aeson Knight. Click here to subscribe now and never miss an episode. By subscribing, you're not just tuning in, you're joining a community of curious minds and ensuring you're always in the loop with Aeson's insightful and interactive shows. Don't wait. Hit that subscribe button and get ready for an amazing podcast journey.
Ready for an enchanting journey of self-discovery? Join Lord Aeson Knight in our Wicca courses. Unveil the secrets of Wicca. Explore deity relationships, rituals, and more. As a third-degree high priest, Aeson Knight guides you toward empowerment and enlightenment. Enroll today and take your first step into the magical circle. Click the link to begin your journey.
Psychic Saturday. Get 50% off with Aeson Knight every third Saturday of the month. Don't miss out. Book now.
Good evening, darling. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Very hyper. Had a great talk with Lisa and her new book.
Yes. Though I think we need to have a whole show dedicated to everything that is wrong with guided meditation.
Oh, we'll do that.
Like, because I'm sitting over here going, yeah, meditation music is horrible. But like, has anyone else had the experience where, like, even if you like tune out the music and you're just like, okay, whatever. One, there are some people that do guided meditation that just don't have the voice for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just too perky, too happy, too excited to be alive to be doing a calming meditation.
Well, with those, honey, it's normally like, can I have whatever you're on?
Well, yeah, that would be great. But then there's the ones that also, like, they start this and inhale and exhale. And then somewhere along with this, they go through and they just really forget that I've spent the last 3 minutes telling you how to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I have now left you hanging with an extreme exhale or an extreme inhale and no other instruction while I go on a 4-minute monologue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so about a minute into that, as you suddenly realize, like, do I breathe now? Like, that'll rip you right out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no matter how well they did up to that point, it's just,
right.
Anyway, a whole series of pet peeves. I think we could do a whole show.
Right.
All right.
All right. So let's dig into Are You an Asshole this week?
Am I the asshole for lecturing my daughter for paying someone to do her chore? I'm a single dad to a 15-year-old girl. We live in an area where we get a lot of snow every winter. Around the time she was 11, I taught her how to shovel, and usually we do it together. We have a decent-sized driveway and walkway. Sometimes if it's too icy, I'll do the whole thing myself. Over the weekend, we got some unexpected snow while I was at work. I called my daughter and asked her to shovel out a bit of the driveway so I'll have room to park and get out the next day, as well as shovel the walkway and steps. She said yes. When I came home, the entire driveway was shoveled and the walkway and steps were cleared perfectly. I thanked her and said she did a good job. She then told me that when she went out to shovel, she saw our neighbor, who's a couple years older than her, was shoveling his walkway. She offered him $40 of her own money to shovel for her, and he accepted. I told her that I had asked her to shovel, not the neighbor, and it was something assigned to her. She asked what the big deal was as it got done. She also pointed out when she has her own house someday, she can easily just pay someone to do it so she doesn't have to do it. I told her she wasn't in trouble, but next time it snowed, she was helping me shovel, and going forward, if I asked her to do it, she was expected to do it. She seemed a little disappointed, but didn't argue. I was talking to my mom about the situation. She told me I completely overreacted and pointed out my daughter has a point. The job got done, and it shouldn't matter how it gets done as long as it's done. And the neighbor kid willingly did it, which I confirmed with him later that he was happy to do it for the extra cash. My mom said I should have praised my daughter's initiative. So now I'm left wondering if I was the asshole for lecturing my daughter on this. There are some updates and edits. So I'm just going to stick to the ones that may influence like someone's opinion. So to those asking, she got the money from babysitting. She works for a different neighbor twice a week and is paid $18 an hour. We've had talks about money constantly over the years, ever since she was old enough to receive birthday and Christmas money and decide how to spend it. She knows the value of the dollar, that once you spend money, it's gone, and to think before you buy. She says to her, this was worth the $40. Now, the rest of it is kind of where he ended up.
Mhm.
So I want to stop there, and we'll get to that at the end.
Right.
So what are your thoughts?
I think you're the asshole. She apparently had something that she thought was valued at $40 to do. She may have needed to do homework. She may have needed to do work. She may have had other chores to do. She may have wanted to watch TV. She had the finances available to pay for it to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I find it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now I would say, well, let's start with, I think you're the asshole. I think you got a little too dad mode on this,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't really think about the situation.
Right.
And that, like, yeah, like, she's becoming an adult. I know 15 years old is still young. She's got 3 more years till adulthood, but
Mm-hmm.
she's getting it.
Yeah.
She's getting it. Like, it's just to a point. This is what we do with money.
Yeah.
Like, she gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could argue whether that was a good expenditure or not, or whether that was a fair exchange or not. Quite frankly, in the absolute ice cold, $40. I don't know how big your driveway, sidewalks, and steps are.
Right.
Like, if this is like 3 steps, a 20-foot sidewalk, and like a 2-car wide by 2-car deep driveway.
Right.
I know in theory that may be roughly, an hour's work, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
With a premium for the fact that, you're out here in the freezing cold I don't want to be in.
Right.
So here's an extra,
Right.
Because that's about what she did, was she exchanged like 2 hours and some change,
Right.
of her time,
Mm-hmm.
for him to shovel the driveway.
Right.
I don't see where she exploited him.
Right.
Like, that's a fair, I think, again.
That's a very fair wage, considering 20,
Right.
I would have offered him $20.
Well, I mean, like, again, it kind of could depend upon, like, how much shoveling is this?
Right.
How much shoveling is this? But even then, it sounds like even Dad's on board with, like, I don't have a problem with $40. That seemed fair. She didn't manipulate him or force him or, like, do anything to compel him to do it. He's perfectly happy with what he got. She seems to totally get, what she did, and how the whole money thing works, like you exchanged. So I'm gonna add, you're the asshole. Yeah. Like, I would say there might be a nuance moment to explain, like, be careful, like, I think I popped out for a second.
You did.
There we go. Maybe take the nuance moment to explain, like, okay, I see what you did there. Don't ever do that in employment.
Yeah.
People actually get, like, arrested, like, your employment contract. Like, she can't, like, pay someone, $12 an hour to go babysit these kids.
Right, but at the same time, she needs to be able to hire somebody to fix her house.
And know when maybe it's worth a DIY moment and you figure it the fuck out. And when it's not, and you go, look, my time, effort, and resources, like, it makes way more sense for me to spend $150 for a plumber than to sit here and try to completely replumb this situation, whatever this problem is. It's a juggling act. Sometimes it's not worth it because you don't know how. Sometimes it's not worth it because I could do other things. And there's no value judgment there. If your other thing is going back and taking a nap, that's acceptable.
Right.
That's an acceptable. Like if it's worth it to you, that's
Mhm.
acceptable. So
And
yeah,
we've had
I'm
this
really
discussion on some things because I am one of those that's I know how to mow the lawn. I can mow the lawn all
I'll
damn
do
day.
it. And it's like,
Well,
great, but what does that cost you?
right. And part of that is like, okay, so, you know, we're going to have this discussion again soon here for some things. And a lot of it will be like, no, I'm doing it this year and I'm upgrading this, this, and this to do it because I'm tired of it.
Right. Well, and again, some things have different, values attached to them. But ultimately, sometimes you really do have to just break it down and go, I can, and if you can get what you want, that's the important. Because you make an offer, and if someone doesn't accept it or can't do it the way you want it, then you have a problem. Either you have to up the money or you got to figure it out on your own or do something totally different. So that kind of all goes into this. But you do sometimes have to go, is it worth me buying for instance, buying the stuff, the ramp and the bucket and all that to change my own oil, buy the filter, come home, go through the manual effort of doing that and getting dirty and crawling around on the ground and all the things. Or do you just go to Jiffy Lube?
Right.
Do you just make the dealer appointment? Because some cars, side note, you don't want to actually try to change your own oil, or more importantly, that's not even an option.
Exactly. We're looking at you, BMW.
Yeah, BMW is a luxury brand that makes that a real problem. So most sports cars in general make changing the oil way more involved.
Right.
Than pull the nut, change the filter, pour in oil. Like it's no, there's way more to it. And I didn't even realize that until I ran across a video recently where it was some I forget what the sports car was, but it's like you have to start disassembling parts of the frame and the subframe, and like cross members and stuff like this. And then there's like 7 oil plugs. One of them, you actually have to buy a whole new one. It's single use. What?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's not an oil change. That's insane. There's reasons it's a design thing. And it has a purpose and all that. And I guess if you buy like a $300,000 car, paying for the dealer to change your oil, not that big a deal. Right. But it is a very expensive oil change, it turns out. It's like $800 an oil change. Which is insane when you first think about it.
But that car is not designed to be driven a lot.
Yeah, if you're driving it daily to work, you have bigger problems.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, this is a show car, like go play with it car, not really a daily driver. Like if you're a daily driver. So Shannon points out Land Rovers used to require tools that would cost over $5,000 if you wanted to do an oil change. That's insane. So, and that's a moment where you have to look at like, what is this going to cost me? Like, sure, you have the ability. Sure, you can get the manual and buy the tools and do all this. Why? Now, if you're going to do a bunch of those, if you have a garage full of Range Rovers, Land Rovers, it's the same car technically, but that's a whole other point. But if you have a garage full of Land Rovers, might be worth buying it. You know what I mean? Just take an afternoon, do all your oil changes, buy the parts one time. Yeah. I could see it. If you're a car person, you have all the stuff already, you're basically there, go for it. Spend the $5,000. If you own one in your driveway, one and only one, seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously. Seriously. Like, I can't imagine that situation is more than what, $100 oil change, $150 oil change. Like, do you know how many oil changes you have to do to make up $5,000?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you saving anything? Like, what besides eating up your time? Like, and I appreciate some people just enjoy the ability to do it themselves.
Right.
And again, but that's a moment I would really have to question, is it worth it?
Right. But I also think that's where people need to know the value of their own time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, it's calculated by the minute.
Well, in some regards.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes if you're looking at taking away work time, you really do have to look at, like, what is the work cost?
Mm-hmm.
But there are softer, like, values that you
Mm-hmm.
have to get pretty decent at, like, putting a cost on.
Right.
Like, what does it cost you to waste half your Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
Just gone. You're mud covered, nasty, icky, crawling around on a floor under a car, for instance.
All right.
What is, like, a couple hours of your afternoon just totally shot?
Right.
Oh, they are $300, but still, yeah. Oh, and most people trade them in after 20,000 on the mileage. I wonder how many people never even bother to show up for the $300 oil change, drive it to 20,000, and when it starts to sound a little icky, just trade it.
That would be interesting to find out.
Because, I mean, you could conceivably, on most vehicles, get 20,000 on a factory oil. Maybe pour a couple bottles in, every time the oil light comes on, and then clear it. But yeah, exactly. The value of anything is the amount of your life that you're willing to exchange it for.
Right.
And I've had jobs in college where I really, like, I hated the job. Not because it was a bad job, but because it was a position of tech support.
Mm-hmm.
On the off chance someone needs help.
Right.
I am here.
Right.
So 95% of the time I worked, I'm just sitting for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I got to be able to jump and run anytime someone needs me.
Right.
Okay. That is a horrible way to spend 2 hours.
Well, it is. But, like something we've farmed out for a while is working in the yard.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the one you were talking about is, like, is it going to be worth it this year to keep spending, like, the $30 to $40
every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks. Well, because there's an additional charge for, like, trimming hedges and stuff.
Well, no, there's an additional charge for trimming hedges. There's an additional charge now if, they've got to come back because, the grass doesn't need it this week, but they think it needs it. And I'm like, I can finance me a riding tractor, do the job I want, and not cut my flowers down.
Mm-hmm.
And not have to, like, put up with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
This is going to be a hard debate for me.
Well, but then there's also other costs of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is, like, right now you're also noticing an increased sensitivity in your allergies.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to end up, like, you go out, you cut the grass, and whether it's the grass itself or just being, in the pollen, in picking everything up, because mowers do that. And yes, Maria, we're happy to take a question. We just need your date of birth and your specific question.
Mm-hmm.
But no, if you're going out and doing that, what is that going to do for you? Are your allergy meds going to handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it going to be, and the heat strain, the like,
right,
all the aspects of this that go along with mowing,
right?
is all of that going to be tolerable for you? Or is that going to create a situation where it's like, yay, you got what you wanted in the yard.
Right.
Your trade-off is the rest of your day, you're, feeling sick and lousy and you have no energy, you're exhausted, you're dehydrated, you're just toast.
Right.
And so, okay, maybe you don't get to work that night because he works nights. You don't get to work that night. So that's an opportunity cost. Right. That's a missed opportunity to work. Right. And so it kind of becomes a thing is, in addition to buying the mower, maintaining the mower, right, handling all the mower crap. Oh, well, Maria, if you don't want to give out data here, you're always, always, always welcome to book an appointment. So you would do that at aesonknight.com and schedule appointment.
Yep. All right. So the poll is up. Feel free to vote. Let's pop over at the psychic advice section.
Oh, yeah. So our psychic brings us some guidance on what is normal / red flags in psychic. Advice needed. So this is flared with scams and scammers. Hi, all. Please let me know if this should be moved to another sub. I started working with a psychic a couple of months ago and have lately gotten wary and want to know if the below is normal / common practice. And there's a bulleted list we'll be going through. So she told me she could get me back together with my soulmate through meditation. Initially said this would take 10 days, then started asking for more and more money to basically divert evil energy. She says I will get this all back. Number 2, most recently asked for $40,000 to finalize this work after being told no more money was required. Some of this, she says, is needed for a huge crystal to divert bad energy.
Nope, scam.
3, I told her I wanted to shut it down, get all the money returned, which she said closing this would take 2 months because of the energy. Is that normal? As soon as I said that, my soulmate and his new girlfriend posted on social media they had gotten a dog together. Psychic immediately claimed that was due to us stopping the work.
Bullshit.
Let's see, we're at 4. A lot of times when I ask her how meditation is, she says she's just working through energies. Other times she'll say the energy is really bad and she's getting really sick / feels nauseous.
Bullshit.
All right. 5 always says I have the option of shutting down the work whenever, but that if I do, not only will I not end up with my soulmate, but I'll have a dark cloud / energy over me forever and I'll never be happy.
Bullshit.
And 6, also, when I express any type of disagreement and say I can't come up with the necessary money, she says it's just the evil attacking me and that I need to stay strong in mind and not let it get to me.
Bullshit.
Ooh, this has the right flair to it. Wow. So this post goes on. I'm so new to this and I feel like I'm just getting scammed, which sucks because I really resonated with this healer. So I'm just looking for someone to confirm whether any of this is typical or normal. Super huge sums of money, changing things through meditation, getting really sick due to bad energy, guaranteeing I'll end up with my soulmate, stuff about energy attacking her and energy attacking me, and I'm never being happy again. Saying evil is controlling me. I know she's a healer, but it just feels manipulative to basically tell me I'll never be happy if I don't finish this process I can't afford. But if it's true, then is she obligated to say it? Is there something I can do to change things here? I'm stressed and so unfamiliar with this world that I don't even know where to begin. Can psychics really change outcomes through meditation? And is this how it's done?
Okay, first of all this money. We're going to address comments in a minute, Brenda. You can pause them. First of all, this whole post, if you're getting any of this is scamming. Can psychics change the outcome? Yes, they can. This is how they change the outcome. You keep going to 55 different psychics. That's like having 55 people enter your house, and you'll never get anything moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there is a phenomenal effect.
Right.
Or, like, it has a name.
Right.
So yeah, it's and I always forget what it is, but yeah.
Yeah. It's called the observer effect. It's a scientific effect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So going and getting readings every day, 4 or 5 times a day, creates an observer effect. Okay. That slows shit down very quickly. So I'm like, get a reading, wait for results, get another reading.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, you've been to 60 psychics and they all say different things. Here's my advice. Stop.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Yeah. This would be one situation where it's like, don't book an appointment.
Yeah.
You've seen 60 psychics. Stop. Like, that's no. While you may go through several to find a comfortable match,
right?
That also hopefully,
right.
Okay, then I'm sorry. I'm going to address the comments here. Maria, don't book an appointment. Sincerely, with Aeson, quite frankly, please seek help.
Yeah.
At the point in which you're saying, I've become addicted, and I'm putting that in quotes because it's a direct comment. I don't, and I try to say this as gently as I can.
Mm-hmm.
As serious as your situation may be to you, at this point, you're in need of a different kind of help. Which is basically going to be managing your stress. Thank you. Please don't book any appointments.
Please do the following, Maria. 1, stop getting any readings.
Yeah.
2, the situation with you and your partner, I bet as you begin getting readings, it's gotten worse or it has not moved at all, and it ain't even functioning at this point because you've drained that energy. Think of this as 60 people with muddy boots walking through your house. How's your house going to feel? How's it going to work? How's it going to operate? It isn't.
Yeah. And at this point, this is not a reading. This is just general advice for when you're at a point in which you sincerely have got to stop.
Yes.
This is general advice for that situation. Of like, if you're going down this path of like one after another, like stop.
Okay.
I know it's hard. You may need support in other areas. Like, please seek out like appropriate therapy. Think of it like a gambling addiction. Think of it like a shopping addiction. Think of it like any other kind of addiction and seek help in those ways.
Right. And this is not what I'm in the business for. Yeah. I'm in the business to help and advise people to move on with their life, solve situations, and get it moving. But when you keep coming to me and coming, ooh, you think he's cheated. I would say most likely he hasn't. Most likely your self-esteem is at 0. You're trusting your own self. You can't even pick out your own outfit at this point. We're not going to do that. We're going to stop. We're going to start making good decisions for ourselves.
This is a behavior pattern that does come up. And professionally, it's one that you and other psychics, like this is the whole profession, are intended to spot and identify. And this is not about you as a person.
No.
It isn't. But they are trained to block and report.
Right.
So block you as a client. Do
Mhm.
not take any readings. Do not take any money. Do not
Right.
have that interaction. And then report if they're on a network, not a private.
Mhm.
Private, that can be a little more difficult.
Mhm.
But on a network situation, you would
Mhm.
be reported to the company as a customer in distress.
Right.
Effectively, that you are no longer in control
Mhm.
of your actions,
Mhm.
and that for the best for everybody involved,
Right.
you need to be universally banned across the platform.
Right.
Just
Some
to let,
platforms do it, some platforms don't. But here's the thing:
yeah.
you would not go to see 60 doctors for a broken fingernail. That's what you're doing.
Well, I don't want to diminish the problem any. Like
I'm not. I'm not diminishing it. I'm saying this is the issue. This is what you need to do. See, that's where you need to seek therapy.
well, I want to stop short of us.
So, I'm saying it. I'll say it. You need therapy. You don't need a psychic.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there's that. But anyway, this article, a psychic advice article, these are all scam practices. Nobody can fix your relationship. No, but you. Nobody through meditation can do anything. Can a psychic affect your relationship? Yes, it can. If you do tons and tons of readings, or you sit there, and I have clients that I'm like, no, you don't need another reading for another 6 months. Don't appear on my books. I have clients I have blocked. Other psychics will take them and think they're golden because they're spent out. Nope, you not with me. You aren't.
Yeah, and that's part of recognizing, especially in a professional capacity,
Mm-hmm.
when you are in an abusive or
Right.
potentially abusive situation.
Mm-hmm.
Financial abuse is a form of abuse. Like, let's all
Yes.
get on the same page with that, please.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens. It's not just psychics. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it occur in my own industry. Like, and I'm working IT. Okay,
Right.
like just take it to like process that.
Mm-hmm.
Because like from my perspective,
Right.
there's a huge difference
Mm-hmm.
between a client that has low technological skill
Mm-hmm.
and needs support and help,
Mm-hmm.
and for instance someone else that was in my field was so thrilled with a client that had dementia,
Mm-hmm.
who was constantly like 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week calling and paying for a service call for assistance. Now, whether or not the client can afford it, which this was a situation technically the client could afford it,
Right.
there's a point in which this isn't about low skill. This isn't about providing the service, which you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an intentionally abusive situation,
Mm-hmm.
but it's sniffing around the edges because you know enough
Mm-hmm.
to know there's something wrong
Mm-hmm.
outside of this computer with the person using it, that
Mm-hmm.
they have a diminished capacity.
Right.
And so you're helping them is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is starting to move, and I reacted horribly to that, by the way.
Right.
I blew up on dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to alert the family, and then you don't take any more service calls. And then if you can, let
Right.
other people know
Right.
that, like, look, I'm not trying to badmouth this client. I'm trying to let you know
Mm-hmm.
that this is not
Right.
your typical client. You're going to be taking advantage of someone with
Right.
diminished capacity,
Right.
for their diminished capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
all that in mind. Yeah, that's a really hot topic for me.
Well, it's a hot topic for you. It's a hot topic for me when I see psychics not having ethical practices. I have a very strong ethical code on my site. There's that I read that I'm sorry, I'll block you and move on. I will not deal with dependent clients that cannot even decide their own socks.
Oh yeah, if you gotta get for sure, if you want to buy your own tarot deck and consult it over everything in your life, you do that. You have fun with that.
Right.
If you're gonna pay someone
Right.
to consult with on a daily basis about everything, from what you have for breakfast, and what book you should read next, and whether or not you should take this route or that route to work, stop.
Right.
You have a problem.
Right.
Like that is not the kind of like,
no, I am not that psychic. I am not a psychic that is going to have 40 calls from you a day on every decision. This is when networks hate me. But I'm also ethical. And Maria, no, you don't need a reading. You don't need a reading. You don't need another decision made for you. You got to start making decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
Point blank. All right. And the scammer post here, if a psychic asked you for money for a service other than a reading, bullshit. If they try to upsell to you on a service, like, oh, well, you really need, to do the, this one is meditation. Bullshit. No meditation is worth $40,000 fucking dollars. No crystal is worth $40,000 fucking dollars, because that crystal would have to be the size of this house.
Yeah. Well, and more to the point, like okay, I do want to be careful when you say that. Sometimes there are, like, buy a crystal, like recommendation for a crystal for protection or whatever, $5, $10.
Exactly.
If you want like a cord cutting spell that involves candles and herbs and whatever, $10, $20.
35 at the most, and that's if but you're getting it. I'm not doing a damn thing for you.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, yeah. And that's probably the biggest one, and kind of becomes an industry one. If you're doing your own spells, that's great and wonderful, and that's an acceptable practice. And that literally should not be an expensive thing.
Right.
It should be, within like an average household income. Shouldn't really be a big thing. Like, it maybe at most, somewhere in the neighborhood of going out to Chili's for dinner. Okay.
Right.
Not necessarily on the 2 for $22 or the 2 for $24 or whatever it is now. Menu, but ultimately a date night is about what that should cost. Within reason. But some of the stuff, it just, the exploitation and the scamming comes in, one, usually when a practitioner offers to do the spell themselves. Most practitioners will not do that.
Right.
Except for some reasonable compensation for what that's going to do for them. And that, as an industry practice, as a religious element, it is a hotly contested topic. Because here's what happens. When you do a spell for someone else, there is blowback.
Right.
Like, you may help them all they need, but you're going to pay for that.
Right.
And the argument basically breaks down to, well, I'm having to pay the cost of doing that. I should be able to make that, like, turn that into what it's worth for me. Most people can kind of agree to that. The problem comes in, how did you sell this to a client? And why are you doing it?
And I'm going to be really nice, because the last time we talked about this on the show, I had a fucking email box below, so we're not naming any of them. But let me make this very clear. I don't do spells for anyone anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No. Please don't. No. Like advice, guidance, support, technical troubleshooting. Like, why did my cord cutting candle explode all over me?
Because you ain't done with it.
Yeah. Those are all things. And that should be like at a per minute rate or at a like 15-minute rate.
Exactly.
If you were to even be in a situation to
Right.
call one.
But $40,000 fucking dollars, I cannot believe that.
40,000 is ridiculous for
Yes.
anything. Like there is nothing in this field worth $40,000. Maybe to do a gallery reading for like hundreds of people.
I will take that back. There is
an appropriate fee.
There is a deck of tarot that was handcrafted by Patricia. That is the original Rider-Waite deck. It's worth about $50,000. But that is her paint, her etching, her scratches, and it is the original deck. I'll give $40,000 for that deck.
Yeah, but that's not something you need to be buying for spell work, cleansing, correcting your situation. That's like you're a professional, and okay, I see the value of that. That's a pretty collector's item.
That's a tarot collective item. That's like finding the original Apple computer.
Like you're ever gonna do a reading with it?
Yes.
Like you're not doing it. It's not.
Yes.
Not happening. Because I could see you like in white gloves touching a $40,000 deck and being like,
touching. No, it will be locked in a glass box and dared to be touched. Anyhow. Sure. All right, so let's wrap this up because there is a roast waiting with your name on it. And it has been ruled you are the asshole for yelling at someone who outsourced a job that they could afford.
Mm-hmm. And did so reasonably, equitably, fairly, without abuse. Mm-hmm. Like, they understand the whole lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they got it. You did your job, Dad.
Yeah. All right. So with that, let's flip over and thank our Patreons.
Yes. All right. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Brenda, Joan Owen, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Caitlin Bell, Devin, and Bella. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcsbnetwork.com.
Yep. You have a great day, and we will see you on Thursday for Mountain Bears because we have a concert on Friday.
We do.
Awesome. All right, guys. Have a great evening.
Bye.